Here.
Vice Chairman Trent North.
Here.
Commissioner Vicki Anderson.
Here.
Commissioner Tommy Lee.
Here.
Commissioner Michelle Morgan.
Here.
Commissioner Lee Powers.
Here.
Commissioner George Chambers. Thank you.
This time, we'll go to item number 3. We're going to do the invocation led by Commissioner Trent North, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance with Commissioner District 3, Tommy Lee.
Dear Heavenly Father, we come tonight just to give you the honor, the praise, and the glory. As always, we thank you for the men and women that are up here. We thank you for the awesome employees that you've allowed to serve as employees for Carroll County. We ask that you continue to place your hedge of protection around those who fight for democracy abroad as well as at home. These are the prayers we ask in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Commissioners. Item number 5, approval of tonight's agenda. Look for a motion from the board.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? All those opposed? Thank you. Item 6 is approval of minutes from the commission meeting minutes of October 3rd of 2017. And item 6.2 of 6 is executive session minutes of October 3rd, 2017.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Seeing none further. All those in favor? All those opposed? Next item on the agenda is public comments. There's a sign-up sheet in the back. It's an opportunity, and the purpose of comments is to allow you, the public, to be able to present anything to the board. Typically, we'll have somebody research it, or we'll turn it over to the attorneys for research. We don't always solve it. We do not vote as a board to recommend any recommendation tonight. So we do keep those limitations to 3-minute comments. So the only one I showed was a Carolyn Gray.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Carolyn Gray, and this young man is Christopher Gray. He's my grandnephew. We both live here in Carrollton. I was born and raised in Temple. I attended Providence Elementary School. I graduated from George Washington Carver High School in 1965 as salutatorian and homecoming queen. After which I moved to California, and I lived there for 29 years. Plus 5 years in South Florida before I relocated back to Temple in 2000. And I became the caregiver for my mother who had Alzheimer's. As I resettled into Georgia ways, I began to recall my childhood days. In those days, we lived under segregation rules and laws and customs. Black folks would enter the stores downtown, and we would have to enter by the side door or the back door. Once we got our things to buy, if there was a white person at the counter, we had to step aside and let them be waited on first. And there was a strange custom that black folks had to lower their eyes in the presence of white people. We couldn't look them in the eye. And I remember one day I was with my mother at a store, and I just refused to lower my head. Well, I peeked up, and I looked into the coldest, hateful eyes I'd ever seen. And all I could think to do in my own defense was just think to myself as I stared at this man. And I said, when I get grown, you'll be dead. As you know, a lot of the old races have died out, but racism has not. And according to a recent congressional hearing last week, the Russians, pre-programmed bots to sow seeds of hatred and division on Twitter and Facebook among us to make us more hateful toward each other. I don't know about you, but I'm embarrassed that racial differences and political differences are so pronounced that an outside country, our enemies, can use them to provoke us to do destructive things to our own company. And as Oprah says, when you know better, you do better. So I'm here tonight. I think we have all learned some lessons since the days of segregation. I'm here tonight to ask the board, the commission, to impanel a blue ribbon commission to study the status of race relations in Carroll County, and to come back with suggestions and recommendations to make Carroll County the most inclusive and the nicest place for all people to live. I'd like to further request that the panel include individuals who have labored in the vineyard of civil rights and equal rights and are comfortable talking about race. Race is a difficult thing for Southerners to talk about. And you just say the word slavery and everybody goes hide in the corner. We don't like to talk about our past, but it's the only past we have. It's our legacy. We need to learn how to live with it and live with each other, because people will use that against each other. And I don't want Christopher and his little friends over at the teapot to grow up having to wish somebody would die in order for them to live their dreams. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gray. And you did leave a phone number here where we can contact you.
Okay.
All righty. Thank you very much. Next item on tonight's agenda, item number 8, we'll move into the financial session. We'll call on Lehman Stevens, Finance Director, to give us a financial recap for August and September of 2017.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. The revenues year to date as of September 2017 are $3,957,000, and that's 8% of our budgeted revenue. And that compares to 2016, $3,645,000. So we do have an increase from 16 to 17 of $311,000. The expenditures as of September 2017 are $10,915,410, and this is 22% of the budgeted expenditures of the general fund. The 2016 year-to-date expenditures were $10,622,000, so our expenditures have increased $292,000 over the prior year. The fund balance at 9/30/2017 is $3,113,000. At September 30th, 2016, the fund balance was $1.4 million, so our fund balance has increased $1.6 million. General fund cash on 9/30/2017 was $4,453,521, compared to September 30th, 2016 of $3,205,000. So cash has increased $1.2 million. And the cash on September 30th is approximately 33 days of our operating cash. It takes about $135,000 a day to operate the county. I will say in October we have seen a lot of our property taxes coming in earlier than the prior year. We collected in October already, about $1 million in tax. And the insurance premium tax that we all live for that came in October, and it came in about $225,000 more than we had budgeted. So.
Any questions for Lehman? Seeing none, we'll move to item 8.2 on the financial session. We'll call on County Attorney Stacy Blackman to go over the Billerica MOU with Sugar Foods.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, this is an MOU for tax incentives for Billerica Development Authority, and our firm does represent the Development Authority. The Carroll Tomorrow folks can be here tonight to present this, but this was approved by the Development Authority, and it's being considered by the City of Billerica tonight at the same time as you all. It was presented at their work session too. But this is for Sugar Foods. They're an existing company in Billerica, and they want to build a new facility, 226,000 square feet. That's and for $28 million in land investment, and the equipment investment would be $25 million with 50 jobs. And this is the standard MOU that you're used to seeing. Usually the Schedule of abatement is a little bit different for each deal, depending on the investment by the company that Carroll tomorrow looks at what should be provided. And that's on page 7, and it has, the first 2 years it's 0% tax paid. It goes up to 20%. Year 3, 10% each increase each year for the 10 years. And then you'll see, let's see, on Exhibit B, the community goals table that has how they're going to make their investment. So in year 2021, we have 25 jobs, 35 million. And then it increases to 50 jobs in 2023. And then in 2025, it's 53 million investment. And this agreement does have the standard clawbacks. If they make 80% of their goals, there's no clawback. If they don't make 80% of their goals in a particular year, then they don't get the abatement for that year. And they have reporting every year. But one new term that we have in this, which is different, is their school tax abatement. The Carroll Tomorrow folks have worked with the schools, and you'll see that there is, they've got a payment schedule that they've worked out that they will pay some school taxes, they get some break, but that's on page 7, the next to last paragraph. So, do you have any questions about the project?
The bonds,
Yeah.
we're not backing any of these
No.
bonds in here.
Right, it's just, the land's transferred, to the Development Authority so that it won't be taxable, but there's no like actual money changing hand on the bond financing. It's the structure we can do to give these incentives. So there's no backing by the county of the bonds.
And there's a total of 50 new jobs over the period of the 10 years.
Correct, right.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Now, any discussion from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy. Now we move to item 9, business session, item 9.1, DFAX expansion and lease. We'll call on Gerald Pilgrim.
I know y'all are tired of hearing me talk about this project because I'm kind of getting tired because it's a long, long project. The state, I did not bring the book that has all the state regs on this project, which is about this big. So, but we're finally getting to the point of where we're able to come in. We had a nice presentation from Libby Smith, the county director. The state has approved in their end of September meeting. State Properties Commission has approved the lease structure that y'all had talked about, the $358,000 a year, which will help finance this over 15 years. Now we're ready to go into being able to prepare the construction documents. We've used a local architect, an architect has worked with DFAX and also with the state. We had to present a plan to them using our existing facilities. Then they basically gutted that during the summer, redid it, and had to do that. So now we've kind of got a concept of it, but we've got to get the final design, get the site ready to be able to put this out for bid, hopefully in the next month to 2 months. And so we're just asking y'all's approval on that. So we've used Peacock Partnership. They have worked with the local office, and they've actually worked with the state on this facility. So staff's recommendation is to go with them. And then we'll have the financing that once we know the final number on the construction cost, I think that finance department and then legal will be presenting you the finance options, which this is what we think will be the lease through ACCG.
So what are we supposed to be approving for you?
Approve Peacock Partnership, who has done the design work, to approve them for the design so they can prepare the construction documents.
What's their fee? What's their fee?
They're, whatever the standard is 7% of the construction cost, which is what the other architects have charged us. I think that's how we structured it in the past, is 7% of the cost of the project.
Look for a motion from the board.
I'll make a motion to proceed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Now any discussion from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed?
Thank you.
Gerald, thank you. Going into item number 10, we'll be moving into the zoning session. We're going to call on Janet Hyde, our county planner. discuss them?
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. First, I want to read the standards for considering zoning decisions. The decision by the Board of Commissioners is to approve in part or in whole or part, reject, condition, or delete an application for rezoning shall be based on, but not limited to, a consideration of the following criteria: whether the zoning proposal will permit a use that is suitable in view of the use and development of adjacent and nearby property, whether the zoning proposal will adversely affect the existing use or usability of adjacent or nearby property, whether the zoning proposal will result in a use which will or could cause an excessive or burdensome use of existing streets, transportation facilities, utilities, or schools, whether the zoning proposal is in conformity with the policy and intent of the land use plan, and whether there are other existing or changing conditions which affect the use and development of the property which give supporting grounds for either approval or disapproval of the zoning proposal. The first case that I have for you tonight is case Z-17-10-02. It's a rezoning request filed by Johnny Watkins and Tommy House. The property is located at 20 Guthrie Road in Whitesburg. This is tax map and parcel number 179-0056. It's Commission District 5, Commissioner Powers District. The property consists of approximately 18.2 acres. The request is to rezone the property from high-density residential R3 to commercial for the purpose of a tire store and a car lot. This property is adjacent to agricultural and residential land uses. It's bounded on 3 sides by property which is zoned agricultural. The nearest commercial property is approximately 1 mile away. The property lies outside the urban growth area as designated by the future land use plan, and the future land use plan designates the property as agriculture. The staff recommendation of this was denial, and that was based on it not complying with the future land use. The Planning Commission also recommended denial. It was a 3-2 vote.
All righty, we'll call on the applicant to come forward. Policies and procedures for governing the conduct of zoning hearings. The applicant or proponent in the zoning application shall be allowed 10 minutes to present data, evidence, and opinion. Those opposed to the zoning application shall be allowed those same 10 minutes. Both sides shall be allowed 5 minutes in rebuttal. We'll call on the applicant.
Hello, I'm Tommy House. Once again, I'm here to bring to y'all the property on Highway 16. It's 18.2 acres, like she said, but all we're trying to have rezoned is 4 acres or 5 acres right there, whatever the last came through. The property was zoned residential in 2003. It was zoned for houses on half-acre lots. I live directly across the road from this property, within a quarter mile of this property, and would look at it every day. But the property itself, you know, I personally don't want 21 houses there, but that's what it's zoned for. You know, when we started this, a little over a year and a half ago, we went to the county and did everything we thought we had to do to be in line with what the county needed to approve this project. But it was turned down this last year. But I would like to submit to y'all pictures of the building that we were going to have there. What we were going to have on this 4 acres is a car lot, and then this building to sell oil changes, tires, and things in the neighborhood area. Can I submit these?
Yes, sir.
I've done a lot of work with the county And as you can see, it's been documented and been approved for us to go ahead and do the grading there, everything the way, what we needed to do. But this property, it is zoned for 21 houses, but, you know, living right across the road and seeing the economy like it has been, I personally don't want to put houses over there. We could and, you know, probably make some money up front, but, you know, there'd be a lot of traffic that would be pulling out right there on Highway 16 at a bad location on top of a hill all the time. You know, and you take 21 houses at 2 cars apiece, you know, and people coming in and out, I see that being as a danger to what we're here for. I have already talked to the agency about the right-of-ways in the state, and they would give us another entrance right there off this property that is down the hill on a straightaway into the property. It's already been approved and said that they would do that. I really don't understand the conflict of this with a few people, but as in the last meeting here, you know, there's one house right beside it across Guthrie Road that was in conflict, but it was stated that we would put up a nice barrier there, you know, so they couldn't see it, you know, everything right there, all the way up past their house. And, you know, that's no problem. We would gladly do that. But when they come up and look at that, I don't think they realize the traffic that all those houses would put out right there on top of that hill on Guthrie Road. And it was approved for the 22 lots back several years ago. I went to a meeting that Mr. Powers held in Whitesburg about 6 months ago, and we were going and listening to things that was said, and one thing that I think is beneficial to the county is I wanting to put a business there that's going to operate 5 days a week. You know, everybody leaves at 5 o'clock, you know, and no traffic flow. But it was stated at that meeting that this is a business that would pay taxes, you know, and be revenue to the county oncoming. Where the houses and all would be a one-shot, you know, deal and wouldn't be paying revenue to the county all the time. But there again, that's what I'm wanting to bring. And if having more questions, I will address them.
Anyone else here as a proponent? Anybody else here to represent your side for it
Yes.
that would like to speak? You still,
Mary. This is Mary that lives directly across the road that has 100 acres right across the road from the property there. It's the only person really conflicted and by interest for the.
Hi, I'm Mary Pritchard, and my husband is here, Joe Pritchard, and we're here for Mr. Tommy House and Mr. Johnny Watkins. My husband and I live directly across the road, and there's a couple that lives in a little white house across the road, and these people are going to be greatly impacted if someone comes there and puts 21 cheap houses, because that's all it's going to be put there is cheap housing. But my husband and I have been on our farm for 40 years. We love it. We love it out there. Everybody on our road has immaculate yards. Mr. Tommy House, Mr. Johnny Watkins. I don't know if y'all have ever been by that place. It's beautifully manicured. And we take pride in our place too, and my husband cuts grass twice a week. But we're so proud of Whitesburg because it's small, and we've got a Dollar General. It stays packed. We've got us a Subway. It stays packed. And we've got a library and a wonderful little elementary school that my granddaughter went to. And also, we have recently got a liquor store. And we understand one of the commissioners has something to do with this liquor store. Now, whether they're going to admit it or not, I doubt it. And there's also a member on this board that wanted a family member to get liquor license. So this person never voted for anybody because they couldn't get what they wanted. But my husband and I do not want 22 low-costing houses put across the road from us with, everybody has 2 cars. So that's 44 cars that this little white house over here is going to be impacted with. And when I look at my kitchen, I look straight at this lot. And I would love to have Johnny and Tommy to put a car up where you can have your oil changed and buy tires. My husband is 85. He can't get to town and have his oil changed without me driving or showing him the way to go. And one of these people from Stillwater is up here belly aching. It's not even going to impact them. They're not going to see this if they go by. And they wouldn't dare stop there and have their oil changed. They'd rather drive to Carrollton and go to Noonan rather than helping our little community, Whitesburg. Well, my husband, I talked about it on Webby. I said, why are these people even here?
1 minute left.
I'm not finished.
1 minute, ma'am.
But we want this place, nice business, put across directly where I can look out my window and see it. Now, this young couple that lives in this little White House over here, if they put all these houses over there, they're going to be screaming, hollering, kids everywhere, revving up their gas. You know, we don't want that. And I know those people in that little White House don't want it. So we would love to have a place that my husband and I could go to have our oil changed. These are wonderful men. I cannot, for the life of me, understand why y'all would not vote yes on this. It's a wonderful addition to Whitesburg. Rather than putting all these cheap houses. But when you go to the liquor store, you talk about danger and people getting killed turning in. If you go to Whitesburg, go like you're going to Noonan, and you have to stop to turn left to get your liquor if you're half drunk, car coming from Noonan runs into you, somebody's going to get hurt. So, but this...
Okay, that's the 10 minutes.
Pardon?
That's the end of the 10 minutes. Thank you.
That's all I can talk?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
We'll ask for anybody that is in opposition will receive their 10 minutes to talk as well. Anyone here in opposition, please come forward, state your name and address, and we'll start the 10 minutes.
Hi, my name is April Michelle Nicholson. I live at 35 Guthrie Road. My property, from the end of my property, is 8 feet from this property that might have a tire shop on it. It's just the dirt road that separates us. From my house, it's probably 60 feet from the property. I sent pictures yesterday or the day before that showed the views from my house that would be viewing the tire shop and the car lot. It takes up the entire views of my house. I can see it from my kitchen. I will see it from my dining room. I will see it from my living room, and I will see it from a bedroom. So I will wake up to it. I will eat dinner at it. I will fix dinner at it, and I will have people over to view that. all during business hours, I'll be holding my children's birthday parties and having guests over, and that's the view that I will have. We have thought about adding a porch onto our house, but we are not going to do it until we figure out what happens to that property, because that's a huge investment to look at a tire shop and car lot. There was a talk of a fence or cedar trees. I didn't know about the fence. We had talked about cedar trees last year. However, cedar trees take time to grow, and I don't know how long I'm willing to look at a tire shop and car lot until those cedar trees grow over 15 years, however long it takes. A huge industrial fence is just as bad property value-wise. And the problem is, if it gets built, we will move. I will not have all my views of my house of that tire shop and car lot. And if we move, I don't know who I'll be able to convince to buy my house when that is the main views from the house. Their property, or my front yard as well right there, that's where I have horses. That's where I want to ride. That's where I want to host birthday parties and have stuff, and I just don't want to do it in front of this tire shop. The traffic, I'm very concerned about traffic. Right now, they use Guthrie Road as the main entrance. That's where the only turn-in right now is. Whether or not they plan to build the turning lane down the hill or on Guthrie Road. Guthrie Road is used right now, and it's a very dangerous place at the top of the hill. Cars slam on their brakes when they come over the hill while I'm trying to turn into my road. And if there's traffic trying to turn into there, it's going to be constant back and forth on our little dirt road. So that's my other concern. But the views and how it affects our daily living is the main thing for me, because it affects every view from my house. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nicholson. Next, please.
Diane Nicholson, Stillwater's Plantation, 25 Aegean Way. My concern is safety. I have contacted Carroll County Transportation and talked to Transportation, and there are 5 Whitesburg buses that drive past that area. 2 buses at the high school and the middle school drive past that area. 2 actually turn into Guthrie Road. And so there's 7 trips for the elementary school. There's 2 trips for the high school and the middle school. So you multiply that by 2, that means there's 18 buses going back and forth, not counting the special ed buses nor the Burwell buses. That is my concern, is the children's safety. I was told buses 40 miles an hour. That's not everybody on Highway 16. They do not go 40 miles an hour. I'm also concerned that this is not going to beautify Whitesburg. This is going to beautify Carroll County. This tire shop is not in the Whitesburg vicinity. This is in Carroll County. Whitesburg already has a tire shop. It has a used car lot. It has places where you can get your tire changed, your oil changed, which I use. I do go to Whitesburg to have my oil changed. My question is, if it's zoned for 21 homes, can it be zoned for 3 homes? So it's not a subdivision of 21 small half-acre homes, but it's 3 very nice homes that Mary could look at, Mrs. Nicholson could also look at, and that's my question. I've Googled something. I pretended I wanted to open my own car lot and my own tire shop. And the 2 things they suggested was find an existing commercial shop that's already in existence, or buy a franchise. That was the 2 suggestions. I guess my main concern are the buses, and the same thing, the hill. And I understand there'll be a turning lane. My question, I did teach. My last question is, has there been an environmental study? And has there been any kind of Department of Transportation? Do they send the approvals to you, or do they send it straight to Mr. House? Where does the paper trail go? When he says there's been approval, are you guys permitted to know about these approvals. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nicholson, as well.
Distinguished members of the council, good evening. I'm Kurt Nicholson. That's my wife. 25 Genway Stillwater's Plantation. She told me I can't talk too much, so I just want to do a quick scenario for you. Whitesburg, most people know Whitesburg is the town you go through when you go from Carrollton to Noonan, or you go from Noonan to Carrollton. Whitesburg is not a town you go shopping. A good thing of that is we got a Mexican restaurant in Whitesburg. Now, when it first opened, it was booming. We were all excited. We had us in a Mexican restaurant. You go there now, 3 or 4 families go in there. We don't even go there. We try to keep going there just to keep it open because we want it to stay. We finally quit going. No one goes there. People that were going there at the beginning, mainly Whitesburg people, now they've decided to go back to their favorite places, to the Donkey or the places in Noonan or something like that. So what would happen if another Mexican restaurant opened up a restaurant in Whitesburg? They would both go under. And like my wife said, we've already got a used car dealership in Whitesburg. We already got a tire shop in Whitesburg. There's not enough people in Whitesburg. Whitesburg is not a big enough city to have competition. So I think the problem we would have with it is, number one, we don't want it there because Whitesburg is our rural little place we live. I work off South Cobb. When I come home, I want to drive down a place to see nice pasture lands, rural area. I don't want to see commercial buildings. I'm totally tired of that. And everyone keeps saying they don't want to look out their window and see 25 homes. They want to look out the window and see a tire shop and a used car dealership. I ask you guys, when you look out the window of your home, what would you rather see? A used car dealership and a tire shop, or other homes? And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. So we've got about 2.5 minutes.
I own some property on Guthrie Road, and I guess my main concern is y'all just built Lake Seton, which is our water reservoir. Well, Guthrie Creek runs right into the mouth of Lake Seton, which is at the bottom of the hill from this proposed property. So I guess my main concern is the brake fluid and the petroleum products and all the downhill after a rain. Where is it going to go and how they're going to contain those contaminants? Everybody knows a car lot and a oil changing station is going to leave contaminants, and they're very hard to control, and I don't see how it's not going to impact our drinking water. Thank you.
Would you state your name and address, please, sir?
It's James Garland, and my address is 235 Guthrie Road.
Thank you. Still 1.5 minutes. If there's anyone in opposition that would like to speak. Anyone else in opposition? Seeing none, we'll reset the clock. We'll call on the applicant or any proponents. Both sides will be allowed their 5-minute rebuttal.
When I was just listening to what they were saying, one, let's talk about the buses that come up and down through there. If the buses, turn on Guthrie Road, and that's where she's saying there's a problem, 21 houses is going to increase that bus traffic dramatically, with kids, and there's going to be more people turning in Guthrie Road. But that is still not what I feel like needs to be decided. When we put this there, if we get to put this there, we're going to put a barrier along that wall, along the side of the road, so she can't even see it. It was agreed in the last meeting. She's not even going to see the car lot at all. But I don't know how to explain that until we could do it and show it as being built and the property line there. But the traffic flow that they keep talking about is only going to be worse with the houses than the car lot, and where if I put in another road, because if they put houses there, they're not going to put in another drive.
Anyone else?
I would like for everybody to stand when they get through if they're for this or not.
My name's Joe Pritchard. I live on Military Road, across the street from Tommy House. I don't have any objections for the tire shop. I think it's something we need, because we don't need to come to Carroll and Whitesburg to have the oil change. So I'm all for having the tire shop there.
Thank you, Mr. Pritchard.
Thank you.
Still 2.5 minutes. If anybody, applicant, proponent of the request, anyone else? If you would at this time like to recognize those that are there by standing up. Thank you. With that being the last request, we're going to ask for the rebuttal for those in opposition. Anybody? Absolutely. Anyone in opposition, we have 5 minutes.
Once again, I'm Michelle Nicholson from 35 Guthrie Road. I just wanted to point out that when it comes to property value and the views that affect my house, even if there is a fence, I'm concerned that a industrial fence is still going to negatively affect my property value and views, and of course the cedar tree's taking time to grow. But I don't think 21 houses would build. I know Tanglewood Drive, I think those are half-acre lots up there. Carrollton's growing, we do need more houses. I assume that they would take precautions to, hopefully to make it less dangerous, but I would rather have houses there than a tire shop. It'd be okay if I had a place to take my kids to trick or treat in the future. I'd be okay with that. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nicholson. Anyone else?
Diane Nicholson, 25 Aegean Way, Stillwater's Plantation. All I have to say is everything's been said for 2 years now, and nothing very much has changed except Brooks Pallet Shop across from someone's house is for sale. It's already commercial. It has 2 acres. It would be perfect for a tire shop and a pallet or a used car lot. Behind me, I have people from Whitesburg, Carroll County, and Guthrie Road. If you would please stand up right now and show these people who is in opposition of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Still time left. Anybody else in opposition for the rebuttal? If not, we're going to waive those minutes. We'll now look for a motion for the board for item 10.1 for the rezoning request.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question of staff?
Okay.
My understanding is that the zoning request was for 18.2 acres, and he just said when he came up, it was for 4 acres.
Right. The application says that the project area is 3 acres, but the total acreage is 18.2. However, there was no survey submitted showing that 3 or 4 acres cut out of the 18.
Well, every time that we have had any kind of zoning going to commercial, there has to be something presented of a survey with the land size, the land use, what's gonna be on there, what it's gonna look like.
Right. He submitted a copy of some plans. However, it's not exactly what we would require for a lot split. It's an erosion control plan.
So I'm trying to understand what you're saying. There's 18.2 acres there.
Total.
And somewhere on that 18.2 acres, they're wanting to use
3 acres of 3 or 4. There's a discrepancy there, so how much they're wanting to use for the tire store and the car lot.
But the question is a valid question, because if we zone it, we're zoning 18 acres.
Exactly.
For commercial.
All of it.
All of it. So regardless of what you use, the zoning is legally for 18 acres. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
We stated that it's not rezoning for 18 acres, the whole thing. And what we submitted was just 4 acres right there in the corner. Survey that, and I got everything. This is the county that has done this, what they said. And they gave us permission to go ahead and start grading, 6 months ago. Those are 2 different things.
Mr. Skipper, would you like to?
He's saying the grading plan for erosion control. What she's saying is they did not submit a survey for the 3 acres that he mentions in his application. His application, he wrote 18 acres on the rezoning application.
And we're looking at 18.2 acres.
What is
Correct.
It's big.
You didn't submit one, John. You didn't submit a 3-acre survey.
We got that 3-acre survey, and we submitted it the first time.
That's a grading plan. That's only for grading.
But
That's
now,
not the survey.
I don't mean in disrespect. I think that this is for the board now, and only we can ask the question.
Just to step in, what the applicant applied for was for 18 acres. They did not submit a survey for the denoted 3 acres that he just stated during the public hearing. What he does have is an erosion control plan for the area that he wants to disturb. Those are 2 different things. Just for clarity, he could have 3, just to give an example, he can have 3 acres zone commercial and submit a grading plan for a 1/2 acre. He's only got a permit for a 1/2 acre. So that's all we're trying to clarify here is that he did not submit a boundary survey for the area that he just mentioned during the public hearing.
Well, there's a discrepancy of a
So-
property of 18.2 acres, and then he asked for 4.
Which is what he just did. But we wrote the analysis for the 18.2. His application is for 18.2. What he says is on the rezoning here, total acreage 18 which is on his application.
And that's what's before us.
That's what's before y'all. If he wants to submit a survey for the 3 acres and the board chooses to table it for that amount of time, that's an option too.
He'd have to withdraw his.
Right. What he submitted was his erosion control plan for the area that he wants to grade.
But that does not dictate the acreage you're asking.
That is not the acreage.
So he would have to withdraw and submit
you can always go down, you can't go out.
Okay.
We advertised 18.
Right.
So if he wants to scale that to 3 acres and then submit a survey for the 3 acres that he wants to rezone, then that can be back before the board next time.
But you're
And
saying he would need to withdraw what he
No,
submitted?
no, he does not have to withdraw.
Okay,
What you would have to do is this board would have to table it to the next public hearing and allow the applicant to submit a survey for the 3 acres that he wishes to rezone.
well, I don't think that's up to the commissioners to have to table it, because if somebody's making a request, I mean, you made a request for 18 acres, and I'm saying, if you do commercial, you've gotta show us where it's gonna be on that 18 acres, and now I'm understanding is you don't want 18 acres commercial, you're wanting 3 or 4 acres commercial, which is not what this says,
Right.
the request. So however that goes about,
Come up here, stand with me.
Stacy, we're to the point where we can have discussion here.
I thought we had to make a motion before we had discussion.
no.
Yeah, we always have a motion.
No, we don't.
This is a grading plan.
I know that's grading plan.
That last
Where
time we
is
killed
it
it,
for?
we never had to move
Where's your survey?
before. We always had
Where's your
discussion, and then we made.
The survey, this is it. I mean, it's been surveyed, it's
This
acreage.
is your grading plan. Where's your survey?
This is the survey of the land.
This is a grading plan. Look, right there.
Erosion control plan. But it's showing the acreage that we want
I
to.
understand. For an erosion control plan.
Supposed to have a motion.
This has to be a
Just to go
boundary
into
survey
discussion.
prepared by a survey.
And this was prepared by a survey.
This is prepared by Johnny Lester for a grading plan. This 3 acres cannot be, let me rephrase it this way. You cannot record this in the court.
Yes, at this time, I am going to request for a motion for further discussion. I'll look for a motion from the board.
I make a motion for denial.
We have a motion. Do we have a second to get it to discussion?
I'll second.
We have a motion. We have it second. Now, any discussion, any questions, any further information can go further with the board.
I think that there is, what you all are saying to us versus what's coming across as 18.2 acres and a request to put something on 3 to 4 acres, I'm very confused, and I'm not clear on that, because it's not presented clearly. So I don't know where that stands, but in whose hands that falls in, but.
From what I'm hearing, Ben, the application was made. If we rezone this, we are rezoning 18 point some odd acres.
That's what we advertised in the paper, which was 18.
So if we vote on this tonight, we are changing the zoning on 18.2 acres.
Right.
Okay?
But he just said that he wants to do 3 or 4. And that's where the problem comes in. Is it 3? Is it 4? That's why we need a survey.
But if we pass this, he's free to do what he wants on 18.2 acres.
On 18.2 acres.
Absolutely.
But if this board chooses to allow him 1 month to submit a survey for the 3 acres that he wants to rezone, then this board has that option. Because we have advertised 18, and he is scaling it back to 3. You can't go the opposite way. You can't apply for 3 and then rezone more.
So what you're saying that if he wants 4 acres, he needs to decide where that 4 acres of that 18
have to
acres needs to
submit
be.
a survey
and
for
he
that.
needs to
And define it on that 18.2 acres.
That's correct.
And in doing so, he needs to get all his proper soil permits and everything.
No, he don't need a soil permit to apply for rezoning.
Right.
He's not applying for a permit now, he's applying for rezoning.
I'm okay with taking it back. Well, there's been a motion made.
There's a motion and
so
a
we have
second.
to-
We're under discussion unless somebody wants to withdraw and somebody's going to make another motion.
I've been silent during the comment section, and this has come before the board twice. And both sides make a very valid argument. We don't know whether this would be successful or not until it is actually built. And it may or it may not. It is being proposed off of a major highway. And one day, this is going to be needed. This reminds me of a piece of property we looked at that the former mayor of Carrollton brought. And our planning in our long-range plan doesn't have this area going commercial yet. And so whether it's 4 acres or 18 acres, if we are trying to grow our community smart, and even though this has the potential to be successful, the question before me is it the time at this point to move commercial this far out? And I don't think so. Now, if I am the young family that's trying to build a home, the argument they have isn't going to last much longer. You're on a major thoroughfare, and it's easy from an infrastructure perspective to be able to access it and get back on the main road. And so you're both struggling with the same thing. So for now, Mr. Chairman, I call for the vote.
All right. We have a motion. We have a second. Is there any further discussion? We've been asked for a vote. At this time, all those in favor of the denial, please let it be raising of the hand. All those in favor or opposed to the denial, let it be known. Thank you. This time we'll move to item 10.2. Rezoning request for 2893 Highway 27 South.
This is zoning case Z-17-10-03, rezoning request filed by Cottage Lane Properties. Address is 2893 Highway 27 South in Carrollton, tax map and parcel 092-0014. This property is in Commission District 4, Commissioner Morgan's district, consists of 17.8 acres. The request is to rezone the property from agriculture to commercial for the purpose of expansion of an equipment dealership. The property is adjacent to agriculture and residential land uses. It's bounded on all 3 sides of our property, which is zoned agriculture. The property lies outside the urban growth area, and the future land use designates this property as agriculture. However, this property has been used for equipment storage by the neighboring equipment dealership for several years. The applicant is planning to construct an additional wing to an existing building for a new equipment dealership that will be opening at this site. The additional wing will extend to the subject property. The staff recommendation was approval, and the Planning Commission recommendation was approval. It was unanimous.
Thank you, Janet. Call on the applicant.
Hello, my name is Jeff Smith, 909 Rome Street. I think Ms. Hyde actually just said everything that I was going to say. We have acquired the land adjoining the property of this equipment dealership. We are going to expand the dealership by adding a shop that crosses the property line. So we're just asking to be in keeping with the zoning of commercial rather than agricultural.
Jeff, thank you. Anyone else here to speak for the proponent of it?
I don't believe so.
Okay, thank you. This time, we're going to ask, is there anyone here in opposition of this zoning request? Item 10.2. Second request, anyone here in opposition of zoning request item 10.2 on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, we'll look for a motion from the board.
I make a motion to approve.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Now, any discussion?
When we're going from agriculture to commercial, we're supposed to have something that shows us what the view is. what we're
Vicki, it's-
putting there.
It's where they store their old tractors and stuff at John Deere dealership. It's right beside the John dealership that's there now. It's being
It
used,
adjoins that property
it's
now.
being
It
used
used to
as a
be the John Deere
dealership right now.
Have you got something? Thank you.
We've got a motion and a second. Still now, is there any discussion further from the board? Not, we'll take a vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? Thank you.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?